Good evening, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We will begin with an invocation led by Councilmember Fugit, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Mayor Roberto. Please rise as you're able.
Lord, may we come to you today with a heart full of gratitude for our city. We have so many blessings. On a day like today, we were reminded of the beauty of your creation and our spot in it. We're also blessed with the people that live here. We are thankful for all who work for the betterment of Knoxville. We are especially grateful for all of our city employees who did yeoman's work this past weekend with seemed like millions of people in town. We are grateful for all the work the citizens of Knoxville do to make our community better every day. All the volunteers that work in our neighborhood associations, nonprofit boards, leading civic groups, coaching youth sports leagues, and serving their community and neighbors in other ways. All too often, we focus on what needs to improve in Knoxville, but let us strive hard to recognize and celebrate the good in our city and each other. Be with us tonight in this meeting and guide our decision-making and actions tonight as we work for the citizens of our city. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, would you please call roll?
Councilwoman Fugit.
Here.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Here.
Councilwoman Parker. Here. Councilwoman Ryder.
Here.
Councilman Vice Mayor Roberto.
Here.
Councilwoman Singh. Here. Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilwoman Testerman. And Councilman Thomas.
Here.
8 present, Mayor.
Okay, is there a motion on the minutes from 2 weeks ago?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We also need to approve the minutes from your special called meeting on Wednesday, March 22nd. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is about tonight's agenda. Are there any items to be withdrawn? Are there any items to be postponed? Vice Mayor Roberto.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to postpone item 12I. That's a rezoning in the 2nd District. I had reached out to the developer and wasn't able to get in touch with them. And I did have a message from a neighborhood asking for a 2-week delay so they could learn more about what's going on. So I'd respectfully ask for 2 weeks. Second.
Okay, motion made to postpone item 12I for 2 weeks. It's been made and seconded. Any questions or discussion?
I had questions about that one as well, so I appreciate the postponement.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor of this postponement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to postpone carries. Any other items to be postponed? Are there any items requested to be added by motion? Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made to approve the consent agenda has been made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item is my mayor's report. Council members, it has been just over a week since the tragic school shooting in Nashville. And like you, my heart breaks for all the families and young students impacted. We shouldn't have to worry about getting shot while going to school, going to church, going to the store. That is not normal, and we can do something about it. So whatever our political views, we can all agree that there is a problem. The path forward has to focus on common sense gun laws that we know can save lives. I'd like to ask everyone to join me in observing a moment of silence in honor of the lives lost in Nashville last week. Thank you. And now, on a lighter note, I want to commend our city employees. We've had an incredibly busy and exciting time in our city the last few weeks, attracting thousands of visitors. The Bassmaster Classic attracted more than 163,000 people, almost doubling the size of our city during that time, from all across the country. And that was the weekend before last. Last weekend was maybe even busier. Just last weekend, there were over 20 organized events in downtown, just on Saturday. And to pull this off requires a tremendous amount of coordination, time, and patience. And then on top of that, on Saturday, I don't know if you were outside at all, but there was hours and hours of a relentless windstorm. So that required a lot of extra work. So I just wanted to share a couple stats and stories. One is that during a few hours on that Saturday afternoon, we had over 41 calls for downed trees just in that few hours, and we had over 77 calls about broken traffic signals, different signals all across the city, and that needed our attention, and our public service crews and our traffic engineers got the job done, and they were just on the go for that entire time. Another thing I wanted to bring to your attention, Market Square was certainly the center of a lot of attention and also a lot of wind. And so when Mark Carnes and the rest of the crew came back to Market Square 6 a.m. Sunday morning, there was debris all over Market Square and the nearby area, and they had to clear it off right away because the marathon runs through there. So normally they just get out, the big gear and get it done, but they didn't want to destroy the beautiful chalk drawings that just had gone up. So they took the extra time and energy to get the debris into a place that wasn't near the art and then collect it all to make it safe for all the runners. So that's just a couple data points and one story about the way our crews go the extra mile to accommodate all the fun activities going on in our city. So I want to thank all these heroes who do this work above and beyond every day. And how about a round of applause for some of those employees who might be here today? So I also want to remind everybody, our next community meeting, we had one in North Knoxville, we had one in South Knoxville. The next one is right around the corner, and it's the East Knoxville Community Meeting. It will be held next week, April 11th, at the Jacobs Building. It's going to be similar to the other meetings, an open house, and it will be from 5 to 7 p.m., and it will include updates on a number of projects the city's involved in, but including Magnolia Streetscapes, Burlington Streetscapes and Signage, the East Knoxville Greenway, the Multi-Use Stadium, and Morningside Park. Again, that is Tuesday, April 11th, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Jacob Building. We hope you all can be there. And last, a quick reminder for those who wish to speak, either to a specific agenda item or during public forum, you should sign up with Mr. Johnson, our city recorder, ahead of time. Please do not use profanity. And when speaking to specific agenda items, please remember to stay on topic. Those who fail to adhere to those rules may be ruled out of order and asked to step away from the podium. For those who are listening, please note that you may not disrupt a public meeting from the audience. Those who do may be asked to leave. Thank you in advance for respecting these rules. That concludes my mayor's report. Are there any reports from council members? Vice Mayor Roberta.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for referencing the tragedy in Nashville with the shooting. That's definitely weighed heavily on my heart as well. No students should go to school and feel that they might be threatened by guns at all. It's a place for learning. And the whole time, really what it made me think of was when my girls were younger, because a lot of times things will flash back to you in that sense. And I cannot imagine 9-year-olds dealing with something like that, or teachers dealing with something like that in their school. And I just want to thank you for bringing that up. And we need to find common sense solutions to fix that. And I couldn't agree with you more. I also wanted to let council know that we had our special called meeting, and we passed unanimously a resolution about home rule and SB 526. I'm sorry to report that will be going to the Senate for a vote on Thursday, April the 6th. So I would encourage all of Knoxville to reach out to your representatives in the Senate and let them know that you support home rule in Knoxville and that you don't want them to support this, this bill, which would alter the way we do our elections here in Knoxville. Also wanted to bring up that also on Thursday, as I understand it, there'll be a vote to expel some members of the House of Representatives, including our Knoxville Representative Gloria Johnson, and I would hope that you will likewise reach out to the House members and let them know that we don't support that. We're seeing a lot of activity in the General Assembly that is dealing with voting and our representatives, and I think we all feel that we are able to manage our own elections here in Knoxville, and we're also able to manage who we have as our representatives in Nashville as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Vice Mayor, for your words about the pending actions from our state legislators. I also wanted to comment. I prepared a resolution and wanted to introduce it today at our council meeting, but I wasn't able to get it to my colleagues in time. And so I just wanted to read parts of it, I guess, somewhat into the record. But, and for those who don't know, on Monday, April 3rd, 2023, members of the House filed House Resolutions 63, 64, and 65 to expel Representatives Gloria Johnson, Justin Pearson, and Justin Jones from their seats as members of the House of Representatives of the state of Tennessee. Whereas the House is scheduled to vote on the expulsion of all 3 members on Thursday, April 5th, giving the duly elected representatives and their constituents, including voters of the city of Knoxville, minimal time to prepare, while Article 2, Section 12 of the Tennessee Constitution grants the House of Representatives the authority to expel a member, as was recently stated by the executive director of the ACLU. Expulsion is an extremely rare measure because it's seen as an extreme measure that is used very infrequently in our state and our country because it denies voters of representation by the people they elect. All 3 representatives were duly elected by their constituents, with Representative Gloria Johnson earning 58% of the vote from Knoxville voters after her district was redistricted, requiring her to run in one of Tennessee's newly formed districts. The expulsion of Representative Gloria Johnson would likely result in a special election that would present a cost to Knox County taxpayers, which includes City of Knoxville residents, additional work for the Election Commission, potentially confusion for our city voters during a city election, and could ultimately result in Representative Johnson's reelection. A vote to expel the representatives will reflect adversely upon the integrity and dignity of the House of Representatives, would place a cloud upon the action of the Tennessee State Legislature, and would be inconsistent with the bipartisan approach to expulsion that the body has historically followed. I joined my fellow colleague, Vice Mayor Roberto, in calling on members of residents of the city of Knoxville to contact your representatives and ask that they vote against House Bill 63, 64, and 65, and to respect the choices of voters in our area of the representatives that they have selected.
Thank you. Councilmember McKenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. And also want to echo the sentiments of Vice Mayor Roberto and Councilmember Parker. Just want to appeal to all the residents, the city and county of Knoxville. Regardless of your party affiliation, please take note of what is happening at our state capitol and what the signal and the message that it is sending nationally about who we are as a state. Please reach out to your Knox County delegation, House and Senate, and let them know how you feel about these things that are going on and that they are sitting back and not voting against. And to be silent is to be complicit. And so also I want to say, let's not lose sight of what the original argument is and why people are protesting to begin with, and why we had House representatives who felt the urge and the need to stand with protesters. And that is because we have very careless and reckless gun laws in this state that our governor and our state delegation refuse to address. And they're deflecting by trying to ostracize House representatives. And so please do not lose sight of that, and let's hold people accountable for why we sent them there. And also encourage and take people to register to vote and go vote. That's where the power is. Until we do that, they don't care about people protesting. They don't care about how loud you scream. You have to go to the ballots and vote people in who are going to inflict the will and hold people accountable and do what you want them to do. And so that's my comments on that. But then I also want to encourage everyone on Thursday from 5 to 7, the Knoxville Area Urban League is going to be having a workshop that is a partnering event for anyone who is a second and third tier contractor that would be interested in some of the work on the stadium. Please encourage anyone that you know who is in that line of business to go to the Urban League this Thursday from 5 to 7 to get information and to be connected with people so they can see if they are eligible or would like to bid on some of that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Singh.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for recognizing me and always recognize me. I want to express some gratitude for what we do have here in council. The functional government that we have, where we are working on governance and not on agenda, that we recognize each other. Because if I hadn't been recognized and started speaking, I could be expelled. That's happening somewhere right now. So I appreciate my colleagues. I know that we disagree and we need to continue to have our different opinions, but I have just a lot of gratitude that we function and that we speak up for our constituents and we listen to our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving right along, Mr. Johnson, item 8A.
8A is a resolution confirming the appointment of Ben Ream and Dennis Murphy to the Better Building Board of the City of Knoxville.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9A is an ordinance appropriating the sum of $5,000 from the Community Empowerment Budget and donating same to T3 Corp. To support its mentoring and inspirational speaker program that empowers youth to overcome traumatic experiences.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9B is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 0 and 1817 Francis Road, 0 Old Amherst Road, and 0 Helmbolt Road from AG District to RN2 District, Huber Properties LLC, applicant 3rd District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share on this project, or really just the rezoning. We don't have all the details on the project. Is that I'm hopeful that the developer will make good commitments to the community and good decisions. But I'm concerned about the level of commitment from the city to this area. And that's part of my reservation. Seeing the development in this area, this is one of the areas of Knoxville that I've been called to most frequently during my first term pertaining to water issues and housing. And all of the water issues have been issues that the city hasn't been able to, or it's not in the purview of the city to address. And so I really feel like this area needs some additional attention, some additional care. I think I've heard Councilwoman Singh in the past advocate for small area plan for parts of her district, and it's needed. And so I'm still voting against it at this point. It's somewhat symbolic, But this area needs more attention, roads need widening. And as we have a developer who's ready to share some of those costs, let's have a city that's ready to be a champion for this area and get the infrastructure improvements in place that are needed.
Thank you. Councilmember Thomas.
Yes, just very briefly. As in regard to this parcel, it is quite heavily wooded, and I'm not going to oppose the development on it, but I would call on the developer to do everything he can to try to preserve as much of the tree canopy there. And I think it would be a much better quality of life for the people who eventually will be residents there, and I think it would be appreciated by the surrounding neighbors as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further, Councilmember Singh, sorry.
Thank you both for advocating for my neighbors. And this is something that I'm continuing to have conversations with the developer. They're continuing to have conversations with me and holding their feet to the fire for all the commitments that they made. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11A is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the West Hills Community Association to award a microgrant in the amount of $550 to support the West Hills Dogwood Pickleball Tournament.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. There was some information in our packet about the funding stream for this grant. Is this, in the past with the neighborhood, Community Empowerment Office on Neighborhood Grants, we've talked about the history of Save Our Sons, and is this a new funding stream?
That's a different pot of money. So this isn't empowerment grants. These are from the Office of Neighborhoods pot of money. So they have the small grants and the micro grants. So that's separate and apart from the community empowerment grants.
Okay, gotcha. And all of this is on the website.
So the small grants are solicited on the website. The micro grants, because they are for organizations that, neighborhood groups that are either starting up or already existing and doing some new programming, that is advertised as groups contact the Office of Neighborhoods. And Debbie Sharp is here and can probably provide a little better context if I say anything wrong. But for groups who are starting up, the Office of Neighborhoods makes them aware of these opportunities, and they also include it in the newsletter that goes out, so neighborhood associations are aware of the opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Willis Towers Watson Southeast Incorporated to provide professional brokerage and risk management consulting services for all property and casualty coverage for all city operations and Knoxville area transit operations for a period of 5 years at an annual cost not to exceed $115,000 for the first and second years, $120,000 for the third year, $125,000 for the fourth year, and $130,000 for the fifth year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11C is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Southern Constructors Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $2,199,974 for the Kingston Pike Complete Connections Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Council members, I just wanted to say that I'm excited to see this investment in safe streets moving forward. This is going to create an important bike and pedestrian connection along Kingston Pike near the intersection with Paper Mill, which, as we know, is a very busy intersection. And these upgrades will provide a safer, better experience for all users, those in cars, but also those who bike, walk, or use our CAT transit buses to get around. So thank you to engineering for leading this effort, and Director of Engineering Tom Clabo is here to answer any questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11D is a resolution authorizing the mayor to amend contract number C-18-0262 with Bank of America to extend the term for comprehensive banking services to provide time for the procurement and completion of a new banking services contract.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11E is a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept and express appreciation to the First Responders Institute for donating used firefighter boots and HT full face pieces to the Knoxville Fire Department for an approximate value of $12,125.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11F is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to agreement number C-22-0479 with the Knox County Community Action Committee, providing gap funding for Knoxville lead, safe, and healthy homes projects to expand the eligibility requirements of the agreement to include owner-occupied units and to correspondingly provide additional funds in an amount not to exceed $19,167 for a new contract amount not to exceed $43,667 in community development block grant funding.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11G is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 3-year agreement with Acela Incorporated to upgrade the current work order management system and convert it to a cloud-based, remotely host software management system in an amount not to exceed $1,339,915.06.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? I'm sorry, Mr. Bentley Marlowe is signed up to speak on this item. Mr. Marlowe, if you could come to the podium, state your name and address. You have up to 5 minutes.
Bentley Marlowe, 322 Douglas, 37921. I'm just concerned because we keep throwing money at all this technology, and from user experience, it kind of sucks. The My Knoxville app I've been pretty pleased with, but if you try to report an abandoned vehicle, you get an email back from a live person that says, oh, you need to call the non-emergency line at KPD because they don't participate in this program, and they close the ticket. And I just think that's, I mean, it's just uncalled for. I mean, it's my Knoxville. If I have an issue, I should be able to report it that way. And I understand, I think that's part of Acela. We can go back around and around, and I can beat on development services and their software failures. I don't know if that's Acela or who that is, but we need to be throwing money there. I mean, tonight, I'm here with a paper check to renew permits. Permits for work that I paid for. I hadn't finished it due to COVID, shortages, supply shortages, labor shortages, and weather. And I can't renew that online. And I really wonder why, if we're needing to build housing and we're prioritizing housing, why does a permit expire? And then when it expires, why is it that I call a building inspector, he has no idea how to do it. I look all over the website, no idea how to do it. Email Peter, he's like, oh yeah, we can do it. I'm like, hey, you guys have a credit card on file, just bill me whatever it is. It's kind of, you guys have me, like I need to finish the project. And oh, we can't do that. Okay, can you, here's my ACH info. Can you just charge my bank account with an ACH or an electronic check? Nope, can't do that. Paper check it is. 1963 style technology. And we are trying to build housing that we are behind on by, I don't know, how many decades? Like, come on, guys. Do we, whatever this is, I mean, throw money at it. But let's throw some money at development services software, please. Can't schedule building permits a few weeks ago. Couldn't schedule inspections. The software's down. And then my computer screen fills up with gobbledygook. It looks like I entered the Matrix. Like, guys, please, like, let's figure out how to solve this because we are going to kill this city if we can't figure out how to help people build and remodel housing. Thanks.
Thank you. Council, that concludes the people signed up to speak to this item. Mark Parker's here if you have any questions. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the comments, and I do not know what the experiences of the developer, but my experience and what I've heard from constituents is that we really could use some work in terms of our computer software and technology upgrades. Our website tends to be clunky. So I just wanted to echo that.
Thank you. Councilmember Singh.
Thank you. You said Mark Parker was here
Yes.
to address that? If you wouldn't mind coming up. Hi. Can you just talk about if Acela is there an overlap between what Mr. Marlowe is talking about and our contract renewing?
Mr. Marlowe's mentioning the My Knoxville app. The My Knoxville app reports into the 311 system, and that is ultimately the Acela system. But the My Knoxville app has certain items in it that were the more frequently used, and there was just, items chosen to put in that because we didn't want to clutter the entire application with the minutia of the items that were in the 311 system. So Russ, his team has worked with us. If we need to expand that, he does do items like that. But yes, it ties into that. Regarding what Mr. Marlowe said about the system being down, is yes, it was down, and this will hopefully improve that because that takes it out of our hands and it puts it in the vendor's hands, and the vendor promises 24/7 uptime, more things like that. So this is targeted at improving some of those items.
And we've been aware that there are these glitches and problems and things that are slowing down developers' work for a while.
Some of it's software, some of it's, lack of employees, to help process the things. I mean, the software, has sped up certain items, but, if it comes to an employee having to make a decision on what, was put into the system, then it goes to an employee and they have to work through that item. So some of it is software. Software can make decisions, but software is only as good as what you put into the system, and if there's questions on what they put into the system, then an employee has to work through it. So I know Peter has talked about needing more employees, things like that. So that is to address that. This piece is to address, more uptime, disaster recovery, items like that.
Okay. I know that we're looking at this, but we've been looking at this for a while in trying to make all of this smooth out easier and better for developers. So I would love if Mr. Marlowe kept us up to date on how we're doing.
Yeah, and this system, we went live with the inspections permitting system back in November, and some things have gone better. Some things there's been, kinks in the road or, bumps in the road, and we are continuing to improve on that or hope to improve on that. I read Mr. Marlowe's emails and I take them very personally, and I look to, hopefully work through some of those situations. I think what Mr. Marlowe has iterated in some of his emails to you guys is wanting something like we have. It's just taking a little while to get there. I mean, we basically are trying to take, 1970s technology and move it to, 2023 technology. And, it's a transition. Some folks are used to hand holding. Some folks are used to, want to do things technologically wise. So, it's a big jump from coming in, putting a paper check to doing other items. I hope that we can get to where Mr. Marlowe wants with items like that. Some of it's in the old system. Those expired permits are in the old system. So we're trying to get them over to the new system. That takes time and dedication of Peter's staff to get that over there. So, it's not just software, it's people. It's going from old systems to new systems. We're trying to get there. It's not going to be solved overnight, but we are working on it. So that's how
There
I
have
can
been
address
other
that.
people who are having trouble with the old system to the new system, but your office, everyone has been responsive in trying to fix that, but it would be nice when there's more ease, for sure.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Fugit.
Thank you. This is not throwing anybody under the bus about this, but I do think the sense of urgency of getting some stuff done with new technology, I feel it in my job all the time too. Customers are used to being able to do what they can do on the fanciest systems. We're in Amazon kind of world, so everybody likes to pay online and all that kind of stuff. So My question is there a financial policy that keeps us from being able to accept online payments, or is it a software issue?
No, they can accept online payments. Anything new in the system accepts online
Okay.
payments. So basically, you apply, it moves to a step away. They do the plans inspections. They say, okay, here's your bill. You can pay online. That all works fine. But what Mr. Marlowe's talking about, it was something that was started in the old Permits Plus system, and it was still active over there, expired over there. And Peter's group, along with Harold and myself, we've thrown all sorts of, we've been in there, converting all this stuff
Yeah.
over there to try to get that. So the answer is we're doing that now. It's just the issue with 20 years worth of data, some expired stuff, trying to move it forward. So I'm not sure of the policy. I can't address the policies of moving that forward, but I will say that the payment system and all that is tied in. It works. On the first day we were live with this, we had payments issued immediately.
Thank you.
So
You've
it did
answered,
work.
you've answered my question. I wanted to know, was it allowed? Could the system do it? What I
Yes.
hear is, yes, the new system can do it. We haven't moved everything over from the old system to the new system, which is creating some frustration, but it must not be a financial policy or the new system wouldn't be able to do it. So, thank you.
Councilmember Ryder, and then Mackenzie.
Yeah, since we're talking about the system at length, I just want to take this opportunity, and Mr. Parker, I will thank you and your team for getting the new system up, but I also have spent some time with Mr. Aarons, seeing how his staff has had to move some of the permits that were open in the old system to the new system. So I just want to give them, I'm not sure if anybody's here from that department, a shout out for the time and efforts that they've had to put into the migration from one system to another has been a monumental task because, there were permits being put into the old system as the new system was coming online, and there is a literal, it takes a person to move that stuff over. And I know, Mr. Parker, you've had staff that have gone down and helped that department as well. So I think we kind of just have a manpower issue and making that a faster process.
Well, and to Peter's group's defense, initially we planned to leave everything in the old system that was in the old system active and work it. And then, but to Peter's, once we started going live with this gave folks that had new permits one way of doing things, and folks that had old permits another way of doing things. And it was just so confusing. So Peter made the decision kind of after the fact and said, when we went live, it doesn't make sense for us to have anything in the old system. We want everybody doing things the new way. So, we kind of got caught without a plan to convert some of these items. We're working on the conversion now, but in the meantime, Peter had folks with active permits in old system, active in new system, and he didn't want people to schedule inspections one way or another way or go one way or the other way. He wanted everything done in a new manner. So that's what happened in that circumstance.
Okay.
I mean, this was a huge monumental project. I mean, we've been working on this 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, it's been a lot of effort and manpower to get there. And then, to what Councilwoman Fugate said, there's a lot of people that want to do things the new fancy way, but there's actually a lot of people that want to do it the old way. And, it's just, getting those folks used to the new way is challenging as well, because you've got a lot of folks that don't want to do things.
Mr. Parker, I will
Anyway.
just say I prefer going to the store to Amazon, so I'm fine if we get rid of online shopping and get our stores back. So I'll agree with that.
Thank you. Councilmember Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. So at the end of the day, I mean, we do have some customer dissatisfaction and frustration. And it's not their fault that it's taken us 5, 6, 7 years worth, to transition the old system into the new. What does the timeline look like for that to be completed?
The system is live now. It's really just bleeding those old active permits and expired permits that were in the old system into the new. I mean, processing time has gone down. Other items have gone down for that. So we are coming through the transition period. I can't say exactly when all the permits will be over, but I mean, it is planned to hopefully get most of those over by summerish timeframe. I mean, we don't have an exact firm date. We're working on conversion programs now to get those part of the way over. But, there is still going to be some, contacting people. Do you want this permit? Mr. Marlowe obviously wanted his not to be expired. Some people said, expire mine. We don't, we started this and we really don't want that permit anymore. So it's unfortunately, there's no uniform way to do some of this stuff. You know, I agree, people do complain on this, but there's, 70, 80% that say, hey, I love this new system. It's great. Things are working great. It was a lot faster for me. This kind of thing. It's just, unfortunately, we haven't made everybody happy, and we are striving to make this a better experience.
Right, and I understand that you will never make everybody happy, but the question that I'm asking is, when will those old permits, are you saying that they all will be in by June, or the majority of them? I guess
We're hoping that the majority will be in. I mean,
Well-
we are down with the transfers. Director Cannon can speak to some of that because he's been talking to Peter and stuff. I don't know the exact amount, but I mean, we've worked them down quite a bit to, most of them are in there. I don't know if you know more details as far as the specific, permits that you're, transferring over.
Peter gave me a report today. Harold Cannon, Chief of Economic Development. Peter gave me a report today. In fact, we're getting weekly reports. And the first hurdle that we had to cross towards the first of the year was submittals, new submittals that had been made, excuse me, in the old system. Now, and those have been accomplished. Took a lot of overtime, a lot of effort by plans review and inspection staff. They did a monumental job. We're now into those that are needing to be renewed. Case in point, Mr. Marlowe's situation, and he's right. It has been very cumbersome. The problem is it's the perfect storm at this moment. And that when we hit 60 degrees, the permit applications start coming in. So our staff is having to do double duty. They're still working weekends to catch up. I do believe we will have most of those transitioned by June. But we'll still have some come up simply because there are old permits that are going to be renewed, probably for the remainder of this year anyway.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Any
I-
other
and I-
questions or comments? Mr. Parker? did
I'm
you
sorry,
want- yeah.
I did want to state that this is not primarily new money being spent on this. This is existing money that we are spending. So it's our typical maintenance, our database stuff. It's basically shifting the infrastructure from our house to the cloud house, which we get new software updates, things like that. Now that we are live with this, it's annoying if there's a little bug and we have to apply the update to get it. They apply it immediately. So it gives you more of the uptime and things like that that our customers demand. In the old days, taking it down for a few hours to do backups, nobody cared because they weren't accessing the system. Now folks are accessing it 24/7. So, taking it down for a few hours each night to do a backup on our part inconveniences people. So, this is more to address those items as opposed to addressing, the other items that we discussed. We do realize that that needs to take place, but I just wanted to point out that this isn't putting in, 1.4 of new money into this. This is primarily the existing money that we were currently spending. It's just shifting it to the cloud.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Just to mention to council members, we've been doing upgrades in our IT department as part of many different efforts, but including the matrix report that the consultants have given us a lot of recommendations for how to streamline development services, make them more efficient, more predictable, more transparent, and making them digitized as part of that too. So it always sounds easy when you read the consultant's report, but then getting into it can be a little harder. So we hope that things continue to get better, and we appreciate the forbearance of the development community as they deal with this transition, and a big note of gratitude to the staff, because I know I've been in there when they're taking the calls and helping walk people through the changes, and it's not easy. 78% of people are happy, but that means 22% might be very frustrated. So, Councilmember Smith.
You mentioned 78, that stat. Do we do reoccurring surveys for customers as part of development services? Satisfaction surveys?
Mr. Cannon? I'm not sure the answer to that.
Councilman, we have not. And that is one of the things that we intend to implement later in the year. It was a recommendation from Matrix. It was spot on. We need that kind of feedback. And the only other thing I would offer council, if I may take one moment, we don't like these delays either.
Sure.
We don't like them one bit. Our people are frustrated with it. They're worn out with it. So we share the development community's frustrations, but we are going to plow through this.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is because we hear a lot of anecdotal feedback, and so it's hard for us. There's a difference between activities and outcomes. There's definitely a lot of activities. We approve contracts, we see the tireless work of the staff, but we don't ever have any quantitative measure for outcomes. And I think holistically, it would be good for everybody to know, are customers more happy over time, given all of these things? Are we doing the right things? Otherwise, we're not really sure at a detailed level what the right move is. We trust your judgment and try to support your recommendations, but if we don't have any quantitative goal or measurement along the way, we don't know how well we're doing. We're just relying on anecdotal feedback. So.
You will have that. That is coming. That's
Cool.
part of these next steps. You're going to get more information than maybe you asked for because you're going to see the number of permits and the values as well.
Good idea. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for and, if awarded, accept a grant from the Federal Transit Administration in the amount of $3,600,000 on behalf of Knoxville Area Transit for low or no emission grant assistance for fiscal year 2023 with a city match of up to $900,000 to purchase and install electric bus charging equipment at Knoxville Station for a total project amount of $4,500,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for and, if awarded, accept a grant from the Federal Transit Administration in the amount of $3,600,000 on behalf of Knoxville Area Transit for bus and bus facilities grant assistance for fiscal year 2023 with a city match of up to $900,000 to purchase and install electric bus charging equipment at Knoxville Station for a total project amount of $4,500,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Singh.
Thank you, Mayor. Is Mr. Thorne here?
He sure is. Mr. Thorne, if you could please come to the podium.
Good afternoon. How many electric buses do we have at this time?
We have 12.
And how have we been charging them?
How's charging been going?
Yeah,
Speak-
what kind of equipment? Because is this an upgrade or?
This is an upgrade. So we have
Okay.
depot chargers, which is slow charging at Magnolia. And we do that at night typically. So it takes about 4 to 5 hours to fully charge a bus, but most of our charging takes place at night. With these fast chargers, overhead charging, we can do that at the station and keep those buses out running pretty much all day.
And we're talking about 10, so that covers almost all of them.
Correct. We're hoping to expand. We have funding to buy another 12 electric buses, but we'd really like to have this infrastructure in place before we do that.
And if we get different models, or we're talking about like the micro transit and stuff, is it something we're going to be able to use for other vehicles?
Yes, it's universal, the charging.
Okay.
So the slow chargers we have at our Magnolia facility, this would be the same thing as fast chargers. They're universal in terms of what vehicles you're using. The transit industry has tried to universally create this infrastructure for charging to be universal for whatever bus you're using, whether it's Proterra, New Flyer, Gillig.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Thorne. Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah. Mr. Thorne, this is somewhat not entirely related, but CAT related. Where are we with the CAT reimagining? I know you guys had some recent additional public meetings or discussion.
Yes, we are in phase 2, so we collected all of the surveys, comments from the riders, public, and what we're doing now is going through those. We give those to the board, KTA board. We want them to go through those. We're going to look at themes from the survey results, and then we're going to look at prioritizing what things we can adjust with the draft network, prioritizing what we like and what we don't like, and see if we can make adjustments to address some of the concerns and comments we receive from the feedback.
So the virtual meeting that was held online and like there was the meeting over at the KTA Transit
Yes.
location, those are the meetings where the feedback was gathered among, I think, some online submissions maybe. You guys are still working through that.
That is correct. We're still
Okay.
on the draft network.
Okay. I had a constituent question, and I think they were confused and thought that it had already been implemented and changed.
And it has not. Nope. We are
Okay.
still looking at the feedback we received through the surveys to determine what adjustments we can make to address those concerns.
Okay, and what's the time frame for working through those and getting those
the board
implemented?
is the board is going to meet in April to discuss those
Okay.
in detail, the surveys, and then discuss, prioritize, plan on what things we can adjust, what things we like about the current draft network, what
Okay.
things we can address in the comments that we received.
Okay,
So it's possible that we come back to the board in May or June with
Okay.
another
version.
draft. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. Since we're on the topic, we have items that are before us tonight even, and, you know, we will, at future city council meetings, consider, for instance, zoning changes that are relying on current CAT service to, you know, make their determinations. And so I'm having in mind parts of the proposed routes at the moment and what routes might be removed. How are you all working to also try to monitor some changes, maybe some plans that are hoping to rely on public transit as you all assess at this moment?
Yep, and that's what we did with the stakeholder group that we assembled at the very beginning and that throughout. We wanted to make sure that we were staying on top of developments and thinking about upcoming developments that haven't happened yet, have been voted for, you know, any kind of road work or sidewalk repairs. We wanted to consider all of that in our draft network. And that's very, very hard because you're thinking about food deserts, medical deserts. You're trying to think about everything when you're redesigning an entire bus network and thinking for the future. What I will say is this is kind of the foundation. CAT Reimagined is. Obviously, we want to build upon that. This won't be the last time we ever increase service or look at service improvements.
Okay, Councilmember Thomas.
Yes, Mr. Thorne, just a follow-up question about where we are on reimagining. Kat, you mentioned that you're likely to come back to the board in May or June. Will you be coming back with another draft, or will it be coming back for a vote?
Yeah, in May or June, we'll come back with another draft. So we really want the board to tell us what are the priorities based on the surveys and the comments that we received on the draft plan. What areas can we try to adjust and bring back a second draft in either May or June?
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. I'll just add, as the chair of the board, the subsequent draft wasn't always part of the plan. So this is, I think, good on the staff of hearing the amount of feedback they heard and taking the longer route for getting it right. So commend you guys for that.
Yep, thank you.
Seeing no further comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Thorne.
11J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to, on behalf of the city of Knoxville, to execute all documents necessary to join the state of Tennessee and other local governments in amending the Tennessee State Subdivision Opioid Abatement Agreement and approving the related settlement agreements.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah, just wonder if somebody from the administration could comment about this and,
Yep.
What
Mr.
it's gonna do
Swanson,
for us.
if you could, this census is a result of litigation, can you tell us what the status is, please?
Charles Swanson, lawyer for the city. If you've been watching the news at all in the last decade or so, you've been aware of the opioid epidemic that has occurred, and there has been a lot of litigation arising out of that. Most of that litigation that arises out of that has been in the form of class actions, where it's cities, counties, individuals, companies, all kinds of litigation arising out of this. There are more than 100 class action lawsuits out there pending arising out of this opioid epidemic. The city has retained the services of a law firm in Nashville, which is one of the lead law firms pursuing this class action litigation, and they're looking after our interest in these opioid litigation cases as they go along. And we are now reaching the point where many of those cases have arrived at the point where we are achieving settlements of that litigation. What this resolution really does is approve the second wave of those settlements. We've already had the first wave of those settlements, and in that first wave of settlements, that was against several distributors, a couple of manufacturers, and a couple of retailers. And I can just tell you that as a result of that litigation, there was an agreement to pay over $21 billion over 18 years in one of the cases, and over $5 million from the manufacturers over a course of 9 years. From that,
To the state of Tennessee or
no,
class action lawsuit?
countrywide,
Okay, countrywide. Thank you.
nationwide, that's what the settlement has been, and it gets distributed, and it keeps breaking down. Our share, the city's share of that, we know now, there's a formula that the courts use to distribute these things, and it's a very complicated formula, and I can't explain to you exactly how it works, but out of the first wave of settlements, the city has received $298,331.50, all of which has to be used for remediation of opioid epidemic issues. This that we're talking about for tonight is the second wave of settlements. It involves 5 parties, 2 more manufacturers, 3 pharmacies. The settlements total over $17 billion, and they're, again, have to be used by the participating states and municipal subdivisions to remediate the impact of the opioid crisis. I cannot tell you what number of dollars we will receive as a result of this settlement. I can tell you that our lawyers, I'm convinced, are doing the very best they can to squeeze these things for all the money that they believe we can reasonably get out of them in an efficient fashion. And they say this is about as good as we can do with respect to these particular defendants, and I believe them. And so we just have to see how that big number then fits into the formula. It will be approved by the court, as all of these cases have to be approved by the court after the formulas are fed into the tables. And we have to wait and see before we even feed them into the tables who is going to participate in the settlement. And this is our recommendation, that we participate in this settlement so that we can participate in these funds coming into the city of Knoxville.
Okay, and we're using them in places like Metro Drug Coalition. I know Mr. Swanson, that may not be.
That's a place certainly we could use them,
Okay.
but that's above my pay grade and almost all the way up to your pay grade.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11K is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Appalachian Mountain Bike Club for the professional natural surface trail maintenance services at select parks within the city to ensure proper routine maintenance of the city's natural surface trails for an amount not to exceed $100,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12A is an ordinance to amend the capital budget and the operating budget, both as approved by ordinance number O-56-2022 for fiscal year 2022-2023, and to transfer surplus, excess, or unencumbered funds between various units and funds as reflected in the various funds and budgets of the city of Knoxville.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, Vice Mayor Roberto.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, Director Evans, could you tell us what's going on here? I know you fielded this question from me many years in a row, but I think it's important for the folks watching at home and sitting in the audience to know what we're doing here.
Yes, sir. Boyce Evans, CFO for the City of Knoxville. The bottom line is what you're all voting here with your approval, that gives us the authority at the end of the fiscal year to shift funds around where there's small deficits and so forth, so that everything balances out. Because as in any budget, with all the funds that we have, one thing I can guarantee you is they're all going to probably be off a little bit. You just try to reduce that. This just gives us the ability to, move them around. It does not, there's no new funding taking place here, and there's nothing being taken away. It just allows us to balance it, which we have to do at the end of the fiscal year per state law.
And it's just a real, basic summary. This is a housekeeping item.
Affirmative, yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12B is an ordinance to close Henry Childs Street between Dean Hill Drive and Anderson Drive, subject to 2 conditions, and authorizing the mayor to execute quitclaim deeds to the adjacent property owners, Central Baptist Church of Bearden applicant, 2nd District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12C is an ordinance to close a portion of Anderson Drive between Henry Childs Street and the western terminus of Anderson Drive, subject to 2 conditions, and authorizing the mayor to execute quitclaim deeds to the adjacent property owners, Central Baptist Church of Bearden applicant, 2nd District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12D is an ordinance to adopt the 1-year plan dated 2023 as prepared by the Knox County Planning Commission for the city of Knoxville, all districts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah, I'd just like Mr. Welch to comment for everyone. A lot of times we have rezonings, and sometimes we have sector plan changes and 1-year plan changes that on occasion go along with those. So right now what we're approving is the 1-year plan, which gets updated and publicly noticed once a year. So just want to know if you or Ms. Hillman have any changes in this 1-year plan and how the meetings went this year with the public, if you could comment on those.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jessie Hillman with Planning. I worked on the annual 1-year plan update, and it was primarily housekeeping. We did have a few significant revisions. They were the industrial mixed-use zoning district being added to the South Waterfront Mixed-Use District 2. This provides a transition between the residential and the general industrial districts that are currently permitted in this classification, and also takes advantage of some of the older industrial properties that may be good candidates for that district. Another significant change was the manufactured homes location criteria. That section was removed because it was trying to regulate something that's really no longer permitted in the city zoning ordinance in terms of single-wide manufactured homes and mobile home parks. And then the remainder of it was really just about cleaning up the land use classifications table and making sure it aligns and is consistent with how KGIS map layers are utilized and the sector plan designations. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Okay. Thank you. I just think it's important to highlight because the 1-year plan and the sector plans are, the 1-year plan is how we get changes in the sector plan, correct?
Sorry, repeat that?
The 1-year plan and the changes that happen through it progressively over the years is how we get changes to the sector plan. Is that a pretty adequate statement?
Yes.
And the sector plan, following the 1-year plan, is what helps guide our overall general land use, which kind of dictates some of our rezonings.
Correct.
And like industrial next to residential or not, et cetera.
Yes, they interact. The sector plans incorporate our small regional plans. There's a lot of community input in those sector plan, developments. And then the 1-year plan really just further communicates the land use designations in the sector plan to the zoning and makes sure that those are working in consort.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12E is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 4614 Washington Pike from RN1 district to RN2 district, leaving all special purpose and overlay districts unchanged. 4th district.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Mr. Jernigan has signed up to speak. Mr. Jernigan, if you want to
Sure.
state your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Victor Jernigan, 229 Sherway Road, Knoxville, 37922. Excuse my voice, but the pollen has gotten to me today for sure. So I just want to for sure appreciate Ronnie Collins helping arrange some of the meetings with the neighbors as far as the rezoning was concerned, and working through with Ms. Ryder to talk through with the neighbors as to what the future plans for the property are. So I'm just asking that you support the rezoning this evening. Thank you.
Well, and
Thank you. Ms. Ryder.
oh, let's go ahead. Is there anyone else signed up?
No one else has signed up
Okay.
to speak to this.
So I just wanted to say, so we have 2 rezonings here, and these are kind of not entirely contiguous properties. I appreciate Mr. Jernigan reaching out to Mr. Collins and some of the neighbors there. We, along with Mr. Welch and Mr. Frost, Mr. Jernigan, Mr. Collins, have discussed for this particular parcel, not to be confused with the next one, I have an amendment for this one. So this particular property, if you look in your packet, is a brick home that Mr. Jernigan owns between 2 residential homes. And it is a very deep piece of property. And Mr. Jernigan's plan is to connect it to the other piece of property that is the next rezoning. His plan is to keep this particular house intact, the brick home that exists, and then use the land behind it. So my amendment is, let's see, so I made a motion to accept. I'd like to make an amendment for RN1 zoning to remain for the 160-foot deep of the parcel. It's 135-foot wide, nothing changes about the width. And the rezoning of RN2 would apply to the back half. And this addresses the needs that...
Why don't you see if there's a second for
Sure.
the proposed, for the amendment? Sure, I'll second. Okay, so the motion to amend has been made to, I'm a
It
little
creates a
confused.
split zone, and this is something I discussed with Mr. Welch, Mr. Jernigan, Mr. Frost, Mr. Collins. The 160-foot deep of the original parcel will remain RN1, and the back half would be the RN2 zone that Mr. Jernigan intends to connect with his platting process to the piece that we'll be voting on next. 160, Mr. Frost. Is from the lot line. Yes, from Washington Pike, yes, thank you. Is that clear enough for you, Mr.
We need that in writing.
Johnson?
Do we have that?
Mr. Welch, is that clear?
Yes, it is. We have done this in other
Okay.
zoning cases,
Okay.
left parts, yes.
And the lot lines will come when the concept plan and the surveying. This is a multi-step process, as with many developments. We have to do the rezoning on the front end.
Okay, does everyone understand the amendment? Okay. You want to say that for the microphone for the?
So for the microphone, we're leaving the house as RN1, and what goes behind it, we're rezoning to RN2 so that it hooks up with the next thing that we've got on the agenda.
Exactly.
All right, we're good.
Okay, does everyone understand the amendment on the floor? Any further questions or discussion about the amendment? Ms. Ryder? Seeing none, all those in favor of this amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment carries. Back to the original motion as amended. Are there any questions about the motion before you? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
12F is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 4628 Washington Pike from RN1 district to RN4 district, leaving all special purpose and overlay districts unchanged. Victor Jernigan, applicant, 4th district.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah. Again, Mr. Jernigan, Mr. Collins, and the neighbors there in Washington Pike, I want to thank you guys for conversations, and I look forward to the conversations we're all going to have when the concept plan and anything moves forward with this. I specifically want to make a point that this parcel in the sector plan was designated medium density residential. I traced it back to 2014, I believe, so it's been there for about 10 years at the minimum as medium density residential. It is abutted by single-family residential on one side and office on the other side. And as Mr. Collins and I talked about, a lot of the property coming Millertown and Washington Pike is changing to various uses like commercial and office, and this is, you know, kind of a natural stopping point, and is, I believe, 4 some acres, Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Yeah. So I appreciate his efforts to continue working with the neighbors. This is a big change for this large meadow to be changed to housing, though I know we need it, but it will also be kind of a stop between commercial uses and the residential. So look forward to these conversations and the landscaping between this.
Everybody will, if there's a letter that I sent out, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to work on a project in which we can have a really positive change to the area with the neighbors wanting something nice to be done and the ability to do something nice with this property. The agreement was always with the neighbors to save the house. It was always going to be an RN1 house, and I very much appreciate the amendment so that we can move forward with the rezoning. And the R2 property that is the remainder of the brick house property, 4614, that property becomes the barrier to any further expansion. So I'm using my own property to create the barrier for a further expansion into the neighborhood with an R4 zone or some more intense use. So it's been a very cooperative opportunity to do something right there. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. For this development, and I was able to speak with Mr. Jernigan about it, the infrastructure is currently in place, but there could be changes made, and that was one of my concerns. Currently in the plan for CAT Reimagined, some of the bus service would be changed along Washington Pike. And that was listed as one of the reasons why this rezoning would be compatible with the area. So I plan on supporting it, but just wanted to lift it up. I don't think CAT is still here. But if as we continue to implement a vision for this area, if more housing is intended along these corridors, we need to consider the public transportation plans for the area as well.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12G is an ordinance to change the base zoning of a portion of property located at 0 Dial Springs Boulevard from OP District to RN5 District, leaving all special purpose and overlay districts unchanged. Dial Springs Company applicant 3rd District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12H is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 0 North Middlebrook Pike from AG District to IG District. Christopoulos, applicant 2nd District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12J is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 5600 Western Avenue from RN1 District to INST District. Rivers Edge Christian Academy applicant 3rd District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'm sorry, Councilmember Singh.
I believe there's a representative here, and I didn't get a chance to talk with anyone. So could you just, in general, tell me about the project?
Yeah, Parker Bartholomew, 5406 Summit Ridge Lane. River's Edge is trying to expand. The current zoning is R in 1, I believe. Sector plan and one-year plan call for institutional, and so this will allow the school, you can have a church in any zone, and so institutional will allow both education occupancy and a church to be there. So this is, we're just trying to expand the school.
Yeah, it's an area where that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Council, that takes us to public forum. First person signed up for public forum is Mr. Tyler Givens. Mr. Givens, please come to the podium. You'll have up to 5 minutes. Okay, next person signed up to speak at public forum is Constance Every. Ms. Every, come to the podium. You'll have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Yes, my name is Constance Every, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37914. Good news, Knoxville. A few hours before I came in here, I found out I qualified for petition, meaning I am officially on the ballot for mayor of Knoxville. SEMA made a comment earlier that Knoxville's local government doesn't operate the way as state government. I beg to defer, and I rebutted that. For example, a few weeks ago, India was asked by the Israeli Jewish community to not take her apartheid field trip. Yet, she took it anyways. Oh, who's that remind me of? The state legislator and the children shouting for gun reform. But we can keep going. You know, we asked India to address the homeless issue here. What did she do? Oh, she initiated homeless camp teardown before the state Republicans gave her the law to back her up. Who does that remind you of? Oh, the state Republican supermajority right now trying to ban 3 people for standing up on the behalf of the constituents. Let me keep going. We asked India to address justice when it comes to Lisa Edward, Anthony Thompson Jr., Robert Bailey, Sierra McCulling, and many more to come down the pipeline. And again, what has she done? Oh, nothing. She's made excuses and gave our murderous police department more money, brought in a liar, and used taxpayers' money to go through a legislation in court to protect this type of action. So I can't support that, SEMA. Actually, Knoxville operates very much so like the state government that they are a prime example and trickle down from. See, this is why I am running Knoxville, because India has no bragging rights. She can talk about sidewalks. She can talk about speed humps. She can talk about a public rejected baseball stadium, currently a public rejected pedestrian walkway. But when it's talking about the issues, oh, she has none of those. Ask India how many nonprofit organizations did she really go in the trenches with and work with this year or any year. Ask her how many lawn care services has she's given to our elderly disabled and our unfortunate economical lack of resource community members. Ask her how many meals she has served. Ask her how many fresh groceries she's delivered. Ask her, has she done anything when it comes to the people's sources besides rich folks? We know she'll do extortion. We'll know she'll take bras. Thank you, Arthur Ashe, for the article revealing that India Kincannon, Gwen McKenzie, Kane, and some finance director took a bribery trip on Randy Boyd's private jet. Last I checked, that's a federal charge. Yeah, we got to talk about that. So you see, Knoxville, this is where it comes to you, voters, and Ollie to you. This is what you get when you don't hold your leadership accountable. This is what you get on the state legislature when you vote for people after they showed you who you were and you put them right back in office. This is what you get, voters. So again, voters, if you want the necessary changes, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to vote different. If you want accountability from your police department, you're going to have to vote different. If you want something done about the 47% poverty rate amongst the black demographic, you're going to have to vote different. If you want something done about the 60% of the homeless that are pushed out of their homes due to affordability, you're going to have to vote different. If you think your utilities are too damn high, you're going to have to vote different. So I'm going to say this again. Constance Every is running for the mayor of Knoxville. I cannot wait to debate India Kincannon because she ain't got answers for nothing. And I do mean literally nothing. And so this is why for the young folks who are here, you must get registered to vote. You must support the candidates that represent your voice. You must get behind the people who actually have the grassroots work and the initiatives to fight for the voices that are farly, over-marginalized, under-resourced, and poorly represented. We must do something different. So this is your chance, Knoxville. Are you going to do the same old thing? Are you going to keep choosing rubber stamp? Are you going to keep choosing incompetent leadership? Or are you actually going to choose the one person that you're afraid of? Because change is fearful. But don't be afraid of change, because change is beneficial. And I promise you, Knoxville, if you make me mayor of this city, we will win. And I mean every single time. We won't have the same issues. We won't have the puppet shows. We won't have the performances. We will have real action, because that's what real leaders do. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next person, I see Mr. Givens has returned. Mr. Givens, you signed up. You have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate the recognition. I just wanted to say that I appreciated the statements earlier tonight from the council members in support of protesters and legislators. We're also in our capital who caused a little bit of disruption. We are all so sick and tired of the violence in our schools and communities, and our Tennessean neighbors and legislators who took the extreme step of disrupting the Legislative Assembly did so for a noble cause. And I appreciate the council members who recognize that. But I can't help be reminded of the 7 brave protesters arrested in this assembly and the extended legal battles they faced for disrupting this council, likewise in the name of justice for Anthony Thompson Jr. So I'm proud of those of you that spoke up to support our brave students and our legislators, and I'm proud of those students and legislators. But why India Kincannon still sees fit to pose for a photo shoot with Tim, we're not gonna stop gun violence, Burchett, I will probably never understand. So thank you very much, and everyone listening, please check out www.indiaformayor.com. That's INDYA for mayor.com, indiaformayor.com. Thank you.
Next person signed up to speak at public forum is Greg Mills. Mr. Mills? If you'd come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm Greg Mills. I live at 8313 Richland Colony Road. It's in the unincorporated area of the county, but I'm having to come here to speak tonight based on your vote last week about this information center with all the cameras all around the city. As you know, half of this building is county offices, so it's not like going to Portland or something. I'm going to be subject to it, even though I have no real representation or say in this issue. So I've got some ideas I'd like you to consider about, oversight to make sure this doesn't get out of hand. The first one, if you look at the City of Honolulu website, they've actually got these a similar type of arrangement, from what I understand, but the public can view it as well, not just the police. So if you just put in, City of Honolulu traffic cameras, the first government website should, tell you how to find it, and then everybody, can see what's going on, not just people in government. And second idea I had is put one of these, on the street where that, big FBI building in town is. That way, if there is some kind of, civil liability issue with these things, I'm pretty sure you're going to hear from their federal, DOJ lawyers, and, they're going to have the expertise to really address whatever issues these things may cause. So to me, that's the best way to check is, put one on the street in front of their place too. Third thing, I hope, when you go electronic like this, it kind of takes away the excuse of selective enforcement. So I hope you will consider what kind of, criminal codes you're putting into this thing to look for. Because, if 3 speeders go by a police car, probably only one of them's going to get the ticket, and that's well understood. That's just the way it is. But when you go electronic like this, there's no, specific reason why some people would get the ticket and some wouldn't. I don't know if you audit your traffic cameras or not, but like the red light cameras, they seem to catch everybody. And last issue, the Knox Focus keeps reporting on your police staffing levels, so I hope you consider this. This really doesn't affect me. It's just an idea, but is if you can't make a minimum number of, human police officers, that they got to turn off the TV, whoever's in there, and go out on the street and work and do, the real work. So, like I said, I hope you will really, not just, have a general idea, but really get specific about what you're trying to do with this before it really gets out of hand. I don't know if you've heard about the Freedom Convoy in Canada, where people who probably should have been charged with nuisance and parking violations were pretty much lumped into terrorists because, the way I understand it, there's a lot of technology to use to, drain their bank accounts and everything else. And that was, pretty much considered a free country. And, what I'm hearing is in Washington, D.C., there's a subcommittee on weaponization of government. So I think if you, try to give government extra rights that the people don't have, then we're going to see more of the committees like that. And I don't feel good that such a thing even exists, to be honest. But thank you for your time, and I really hope you will take this seriously instead of just, a one-off vote. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Council members, that concludes public forum. Without objection, this meeting is adjourned.